When evaluating a patient with hallucinations, simply identifying their presence is not enough. In a university examination and in clinical practice, you should systematically assess 12 important parameters. First is frequency. Ask how often the hallucinations occur. Are they happening once a week, several times a day, or continuously? Second is duration. Determine how long each episode lasts. Does it last a few seconds, several minutes, or for hours? Third is location. Ask where the hallucination is experienced. Does the patient hear voices coming from outside the room, from behind them, or from inside their body or head? Fourth is the sense of reality. Find out whether the experience feels exactly like a real perception or whether it feels vague and dreamlike. Fifth is sensory intensity. Assess how intense the experience is. For auditory hallucinations, ask whether the voices are whispers, normal conversations, or loud shouting. Sixth is constancy. Determine whether the intensity remains constant or varies over time. Seventh is overt behavior. Observe whether the patient responds to the hallucinations. They may talk back to voices, cover their ears, stare into empty space, or attempt to avoid visual hallucinations. Eighth is control. Ask whether the patient can voluntarily stop or suppress the hallucinations, or whether they occur completely beyond their control. Ninth is the sense of time. Some patients experience alterations in their perception of time during hallucinations, describing time as moving unusually fast or slow. Tenth is causal attribution. Ask a patient who or what they believe is producing the hallucination. They may attribute it to God, neighbors, spirits, implanted devices, or other sources. 11th is shared experience. Determine whether the patient believes that other people can also hear or see the hallucination. This provides useful information about insight and associated delusional beliefs. Finally, assess the content. This is often the most clinically important parameter. Record exactly what is being heard or seen. Auditory hallucinations may be derogatory, abusive, threatening, commanding, or provide a running commentary. Visual hallucinations should also be described in detail. A common examination question is the differential diagnosis of hallucinations. First, distinguish hallucinations from pseudo hallucinations and imagery. A true hallucination is perceived in objective external space, is experienced as completely real, occurs without voluntary control, and is usually vivid and well formed. A pseudo hallucination is experienced in subjective internal space, often described as occurring inside the head. The patient recognizes that it is not objectively real and usually retains insight. There may be some degree of voluntary control. Mental imagery is a normal cognitive phenomenon. It occurs in the mind's eye, is entirely voluntary, and lacks the vividness and perceptual quality of a true hallucination. Another important distinction is between hallucinations and illusions. An illusion is a misinterpretation of a real external stimulus. For example, mistaking a rope for a snake in dim light. Here, a stimulus is present but interpreted incorrectly. A hallucination, in contrast, is a perception occurring in the complete absence of an external stimulus. Several clinical syndromes are frequently tested in postgraduate examinations. Schneiderian first rank symptoms include three characteristic auditory hallucinations. These are audible thoughts, also known as thought echo, voices arguing or discussing the patient in the third person, and voices providing a running commentary on the patient's actions. These symptoms have traditionally been associated with schizophrenia, although they are not entirely specific. Alcoholic hallucinosis usually presents with prominent auditory hallucinations during alcohol withdrawal, while the patient's sensorium remains clear. This distinguishes it from delirium tremens, where consciousness is impaired and visual hallucinations are more common. Charles Bonnet syndrome occurs in elderly individuals with significant visual impairment, such as cataracts or macular degeneration. They experience complex visual hallucinations but retain full insight and do not have a primary psychotic disorder. The narcolepsy tetrad can be remembered using the mnemonic CHAP. C stands for cataplexy, H for hypnagogic hallucinations, A for attacks of sleep, and P for sleep paralysis. Management of hallucinations begins with identifying and treating the underlying cause. In primary psychotic disorders, Antipsychotic medications that block dopamine D2 receptors remain the cornerstone of pharmacological treatment for positive symptoms. Psychological interventions, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy for psychosis, are valuable adjuncts. Patients are taught distraction techniques such as listening to music or engaging in meaningful activities. Therapy also focuses on examining and challenging beliefs about the origin and meaning of the voices, while normalizing the experience to reduce fear, distress, and functional impairment. For examination purposes, remember that the assessment of hallucinations is far more than simply asking whether voices are present. A systematic evaluation of all 12 assessment parameters, followed by careful differential diagnosis and recognition of important clinical syndromes, demonstrates a comprehensive psychiatric assessment and helps guide accurate diagnosis and management.